10x your service design offering with Smapply. Take 20% off any order with This Is HCD 20 off. Let's superpower you and your design team's potential. Sign up at smapply.app. Enjoy the episode from your friends at Smapply, helping support This Is HCD podcast.
Welcome to This Is HCD. I'm Gerry Scullion, founder of the Human-Centered Design Network. This podcast is all about the world of human-centered design, service design and innovation, helping you bring meaningful change into your work and your organization. Now, before we dive in, a quick reminder, if you find this episode valuable, please like and subscribe to the podcast and share it with your network if you can as well. And if you're looking to build your own human-centered service design approach, take the first step with my free 5-day email course. Check out the link in the description below. In this episode, I'm joined by Adam B. Cochrane, an experienced design leader currently working at Staffbase in Germany. In this episode, we explore the role of facilitation in design and how it has evolved across organizations like Lufthansa, Zalando, and now Staffbase. And here are 3 key takeaways from this episode. Number 1, the power of facilitation in design, how stepping up can really elevate your career, strengthen team alignment, and improve decision making. And number 2, encouraging introverted designers to facilitate, why facilitation is not just for extroverts and how introverts can bring a unique strength to the role. And number 3, building psychological safety in teams. We hear it all the time. Why trust and psychological safety are crucial to great facilitation and how leaders can create environments where voices are heard. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Let's get straight into it. Here's my conversation with Adam. Adam, delighted to have you back in the show. It's been, I'm going to say, over 12 months or maybe 18 months since you were on last in the podcast. Maybe for people who don't know Adam Cochrane, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from and what you do, and also include the Australian part of it as well. Don't say that you're in Germany and leave it at that, because we know you're Australian.
Yeah, for people who don't know me, I'm Adam Cochrane, and I'm from Australia. I'm from Melbourne. Born and raised, but I've been living in Berlin the last 10 years, which makes me an official Berliner. However, I'm yet to get my German passport, but no, I'm Australian. I have the accent to prove it, although lots of people, when I go back home to Australia, don't know where I'm from. So that's a great indication that I'm leaving my past behind. Yeah, really.
I only hear Aussie, but I guess maybe I hear a little bit of a German twang in there as well. But we're going to go with the fact that you're Australian German. Is that probably fair?
Australian German, yeah, sure.
Australian German.
Bit of my father's a British person. I was going to say Tom, but a British person. So you can also throw that in there somehow as well.
Ah, okay, right. And Cochrane is Irish, so I'm going to try and claim you somewhat as well.
As that as well, yeah. And then for work, I work at Staffbase.
Staffbase. Okay, we were chatting before that. Like it's a SaaS product that I wasn't familiar with, but let me explain why I wouldn't be familiar with it most likely. Maybe tell us a little bit about the problems that Staffbase solve and also what your role is within that ecosystem.
So Staffbase is a B2B SaaS. We build app and intranet for a wide range of big companies. And we help those internal communication teams to get their message out to their audience, which is their employees. So how do you make sure that everyone's aligned? Everyone is hearing what you're hearing. Everyone is understanding what the company is all about. How do you, make sure that your employees are motivated, understand where the company is going, responding to different things. So that's kind of what we do. So if you have an intranet or an app that you use for your company, there is a big chance that we've probably built it for you.
Okay. How do people usually do that? Because I work for myself and I haven't used an internal intranet, so I'm not really sure what the experience is like for employees at the moment. What's the current state?
There's the pre-pandemic state, which was, I guess, a lot of in-person meetings and a lot of putting stuff up on pin boards and the occasional email.
Yeah.
I think COVID changed the way we work quite considerably. And so, keeping people informed, up to date without bringing people face to face was a huge challenge for a lot of companies. And then after that, a lot of people started to invest into these digital tools to help them communicate, Slack and other ones, but more so on an official basis as well. So some companies use products like SharePoint poorly. If anyone's ever used it, they know how difficult it is and
Yeah.
how limited it is. Other ones, they might just do emails or messages. They might have not any internal solution. Some tech companies might use something like Notion. But when you're dealing with companies that are 100,000 people across multiple nations in multiple countries, where you have people that are communicating and you've got leadership in different departments saying different things, how do you keep them all aligned? How do you make sure that your comms are actually resonating with your audience and people are listening? And what is the general consensus? That's where we come in. So helping you actually understand what's being said, how people feel about it, if they understand it, if they're taking action, kudos, comments, participation, in this kind of way, because, like the whole new work trend and everything is we know that people who are engaged, who care about and understand why they're doing what they're doing, are better for the company. And for us as service designers, I guess we also understand this inherently. So, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing a service design project and you want to create a service for people, the people who are delivering that service need to know what their part is, why they exist there, what they should be aiming towards, what is the best experience they can create, how much freedom do they have. So, yeah, we help people get their message, and we would say changing hearts and minds.
Yeah.
But on a practical basis, it's just about making sure that everyone understands what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, typically, when I look at those kind of systems, my experience with it was broadcast and hope. So, like, the teams just broadcast a message and hope that it lands.
Yeah.
And then it's just like kind of like fleeting in the wind. You kind of go, oh, I've stumbled across it, and yeah, I've seen it. What are the kind of metrics that a modern workplace use to measure the effectiveness of the communication? That's something I've often wondered. Like, is it the fact that it's an open rate or a, eyeballs, that sort of traffic on if it's an article on an intranet? Is there a way of measuring the fact that the knowledge has been received and actioned? I'd be keen to know what the modern metrics are around those, the effectiveness of that communication style.
Yeah, I think on the general basis level, you do have these open rates and click rates. I mean, if you talk to marketers and communications and even yourself, you probably track these solid metrics of open rates and participation rates and clicks. And I think that's the basis level on an analytic style, like to know that people are actually receiving this and opening this. One step beyond that, I guess, is then you have people that are engaging in comments and reacting with likes and celebrations and stuff like this. So you have the next level, which is engagement of posts. And then where we go one step further is we go sentiment. So what is the sentiment of these comments? What is the general conversation around these? Are people within different teams posting different stories that align with this messaging or don't align with this messaging? Are they raising questions? Are they confused? So that extra level is also about sentiment for us. So are people actually, how are they feeling about what you've written, and do they actually understand what you've written?
Yeah.
So at the very high level, we have a great person called Frank Wolf. He wrote a book about the narrative age, about how to understand what your narratives are, how to affect those narratives. So at the very higher level, when you go past sentiment, you also go, do people understand, or what do people understand about your company? What is the narratives? What's your point of view on them? And that's where we would like to go. That's our holy grail. But that's hard and complicated, and that's really pushing the boundaries of internal communications. Yeah,
it's great to hear a SaaS product has got a service design function, because a lot of SaaS products that I'm aware of, first of all, they're either cutting or they have had maybe fleeting experiences with service design. And would it be fair to say, like, in terms of the design maturity and the design team that's in Staffbase, it looks like they've done a great job. I'm on the website here at the moment on that screen over there. Are there many service designers, or is it mainly still user experience designers? that are kind of working to shape the digital experience?
Yeah, I would say it's product designers. I don't know if we
Yeah.
distinguish so much between
Right.
service and UX design. There are people that love the detailed design system work. There are people that love this kind of service design thinking, user journey mapping, this experience. But I'd say largely we're still, well, we are within this trios of product design and stuff like this. And my role there is product design manager, and I wouldn't say that I am not a service designer, but my title does not reflect that. And that was the same with my experiences at Zalando and other companies as well. And at Lufthansa, I was also a strategic designer. So
Yeah.
I don't know, this is a debate of, do we need the title of service design to do service design work?
If it's important to the person, I think it's, yeah. But like at the end of the day, you know, you could be, you know, a carpenter with service design skills and evoke a change. And I'm not so much tied on the titles. You are 100% a service designer from speaking to you. We ask the same type of questions that usually, you know, get a reflective response in some ways. So talk to me through like what it's like at the moment when you're a product design manager. You've had multiple experiences working with pretty large organizations like Zalando in one and Lufthansa being the other. How do you find the role of facilitation has evolved across the organizations? Or has it evolved in your experience? And what's it like facilitating UX designers in general? What's your experience and perspective on this?
Yeah, it's a good question. I love facilitation. I think the best way to create the designs is by facilitating the people to make those designs work. I draw a lot of inspiration from, you know, AJ and Smart and those people, yourself, and the great books by Adam and Mark, and you know, the service design doing. They also have great chapters on facilitation as well. I think facilitation has changed in terms of there was a critical mass at some point that just got so frustrated at joining meetings that just didn't go where they needed to go.
Yeah.
And when I first started as a designer, I got all of these tools and all these methods to make stuff work and bring people together and help make decisions. And, you know, I started off in small companies and design agencies, and then, you know, hit Zalando, and there, you know, it became very, very evident that the designers were not empowered to actually run meetings and facilitate processes to actually get out great outcomes. At Zalando, I started a training there, did it once a month for the entire time that I was there, about enabling designers and PMs and tech people to better facilitate their meetings, starting with simple things like the Lightning Decision Jam from AJ and Smart, or other tools and methods that they could just simply do better. I think also there's a lot of overlap and conflict with like agile design work methods and methodologies, and there's a lot of, you know, synergies that you can find there. But now when I have switched from, let's say, so at Lufthansa, I was also helping in terms of facilitating entrepreneurs and venture developers understand what they wanted to build. So I was there as a consultant, as an expert in my field to help them. But now once I become a product design manager in this role, and I have designers that are working across multiple teams, it's more about facilitating as part of the team as well, which is a very different way of working. So if you come externally to facilitate, and if you're, let's say, enabling other teams to do this, you can kind of come with an outside, let's say, unbiased perspective. But now when you're in it, you're involved, you're also a leader, people are looking up to you. You can't just ask questions because they look for you to have an opinion and make decisions. I think you need to also facilitate and host differently when you're in that role as well. So that's also something good to remember as well. Yeah.
It's one thing to facilitate when you're facilitating and you're facilitating that group, and they could be made up of user experience designers or product designers, or whatever title you want to give the group of people that you're facilitating. To me, the success is when you're not in the room and the group can still facilitate themselves when you're in a full role, that they're still able to follow the same kind of curiosity and bringing people together and wearing that hat as the facilitator, and less so around, I still know the answers to all these questions, and like, oh, you're all wrong and so forth, which is a very common pitfall I see. How do you ensure that the designers are kind of encouraged to step up to facilitate? Because I've noticed in particular the user experience product design people that I've coached over the years, they have less opportunities, it seems, to step up, because there could be product managers. I'm not being disparaging towards product managers, but just general lead level. And they don't give the younger talent that opportunity to step up and run the session. What advice do you give to those people in those positions to make sure that they can maintain that curiosity and that room to grow as a facilitator within your organization? Because you're right, it is a critical skill, and I'd love more leaders to provide that space. How do you do it? What's your advice and take on that?
I think there's a couple of suggestions I mean, it's great if the PMs can stand up and facilitate and you can participate. And I guess within a tech trio, you might say like there's often quite a lot of rituals that happen, and then everyone just kind of defaults to being a bit lazy, let's say. Whether, do we need to do it, with such detail? Do we need to go through the processes? Let's just do it. We know what's going to come out of the retrospective. Do we need to do that? Do we actually need to facilitate? And I think there is a lot of space of just designers putting up their hand and saying like, hey, I'm happy to facilitate. It might become the expectation, and you can manage that. But I think there is just at the very basic, a space that if you're a designer in a team and you see, wow, we're a little bit lacking, we don't necessarily want to like just say, hey, I can do it. Like put my hand up, I can do this, I'll facilitate. Is that okay? And so you can just ask for permission to do this. The second one I would say is if you do have PMs and there's a shared role and there's also some appreciation for good facilitated meetings, you might want to share this around. But another thing you can do is just introduce new methods or new formats with that already. So, hey, I've heard of this. I heard such and such speak, or I found this new method. I heard this thing. Can I try this out with my team and with us? And then we see how it goes to do this. And so you can kind of like pass over let's say the
baton.
Yeah, the baton or the responsibility to something else and say, hey, I just want to participate and I'll do this as well. And then if you're still struggling, I would say in terms of facilitating, in terms of getting your voice there, in terms of bringing the team together, I would say look at it and ask them for the favor for you. So, hey, engineers, I'm struggling to understand this, this, and this, and I would need your feedback. Can you give me some feedback? I've set up a meeting for us and it's going to go like this. Hey, PM, I want to align with what your KPIs are and what you're wanting to do and what you're expecting from me. I've set up this, So kind of asking them to support you is another great way that you can also get that permission to start facilitating.
So what does it look like with the younger designers in particular? I know from speaking to designers who maybe have been in organizations where they didn't have that growth opportunity, and they arrived at, say, 10 years in the industry and they've facilitated a number of times. And then when they want to leave that organization and they realize and they listen to all these, podcasts and read these blog articles that facilitation is one of the key skills. Like, oh, well, I'm going to have to kind of fake it till I make it kind of stuff. How do we make sure that doesn't happen? How do we make sure the people listening who are in the seats of power that can ensure that the next generation of designers can facilitate like a badass? How do we do that? How do we make more Adam Lawrences?
As opposed to Adam Cochrane. How do we make more Adam Lawrences?
Adam Cochrane as well.
Send them off to, I mean, if you want to make another Adam Lawrence, what he does very, very well is improv acting. He loves acting. He loves comedy, and you see him on a stage or you see him facilitate. He knows really great ways of working with people. That is not necessarily design skills, but acting skills. So I think if you're a leader, and you're thinking, wow, my team is not collaborating well. They're struggling to align. Meetings are tedious. I have to step in a lot. If you're a leader that has this and you're thinking, why are these young designers not able to take hold or participate or collaborate, then one thing you can definitely do is to send them to improv, get them out of their box a little bit, do some comedy, something like this. Something of these creative arts, these performative arts can really, really help and make a difference to that yes and
Yeah.
handing over the baton, bringing people in, naming people, looking people, body language, all of these great skills that I think get easily overlooked. So that's one thing I would say really would help a lot.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say is mentoring. And then the third one, which is a principle that I took from Zalando, is a high challenge, high support. You can just tell them that this is what they're going to do, stealing a little bit from radical candor. Hey, I want you to do this. I'm going to do it with you now, and we're going to do it together. And so I think when there comes moments to, facilitate,
I love that.
then that's a lot of easy methods you can apply.
Yeah, absolutely. Who did you say that high challenge, high support was from? I haven't heard that name before.
That's not a book. That's a design. That's a working principle that I took over from Zalando. They have these similar to Amazon. They have like these 9 principles for work or something like this. Disagreeing, commit, and default to transparency. It's one of those ones as well.
But what was the phrase you said? Like high support.
High challenge, high support. So I think as a leader, what you want to do is you want to say like, okay, I'm going to challenge you this. What you're comfortable with is this. We're going to take it a bit further, but I am going to then support you into that.
Okay.
To say like, whenever I give you a challenge, we're going to do it together, not just I'm going to challenge you. Good luck. See if you sink or swim, but I'm going to help you along the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a really solid take. Like, you're pushing people into that grid edge of, what they're comfortable with, and that area of growth tends to be in the place where you're just about comfortable, but not comfortable enough to sit down. So I really, really understand that. The other bit that you mentioned there around improv is a person you might know, Belina Raffi.
Oh yeah, she's amazing. Awesome person. So
I encourage people to check out Belina Raffi, okay, because Belina has done some cool stuff, especially around comedy. I remember the first time I saw Belina work, I was like, oh my God, I feel like so vulnerable. And it was about comedy, and it was done through Zoom and stuff. Now, anyone who's worked with me knows that I like to joke most of the time. Okay, I'm usually laughing. But their experience, what they brought to me, was creating a space for vulnerability to kind of blossom, and then everyone else's role is to support them in that piece. I want to talk to you about creating those spaces, because we like to think that we can send people to improv, we can, set up a bunch of principles and 9 working styles or whatever it was at Zalando. But still, like, there's, it's easy for me to say this as a 6'2" white dude who speaks English. And generally speaking, it's not always the case where every human can feel that level of safety and reassurance that they're not going to, make themselves look silly or any of that kind of stuff. And also put themselves in their mind at risk of, potentially losing their job or that. That's the fear mindset. How do we create those spaces? Because I imagine working with you is good fun, Adam. Like, I haven't worked with you directly. And you're like, yeah, dead right, it is. It's a load of fun. But fun is one thing, but vulnerability and safety is another. So one of the things that I learned years ago was about setting those spaces up. But I'd love to understand your perspective on that when you're working in a SaaS software, environment. It could be some tech companies out there mightn't have the greatest culture that allows people to take the reins in this space. How do they ensure that they feel safe enough to step up?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things, and I would say it's not easy all the time to do this, right? It very much depends on the culture that you have within the organization overall, and the department, and how people feel, and what is accepted as okay behavior. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things of culture. So let's just say it depends really on how people feel about work on Monday. Like, how do they feel about Mondays? Starts from that point. But I think I referenced two people, two fantastic women, Corey Moore and Anita Volk. Both worked with them at Lufthansa Innovation Hub, and they do a course on psychological safety, and they really nailed it for me in terms of building psychological safety in your organization, in your departments, and in your teams is really what will help people open up, say what they wouldn't normally say. But how do you get really these diverse inputs and people talking, and the ability to be brave is by building psychological safety. And now we've probably heard these terminologies so much, and yes, we all agree that this is what we need, but really practically, how do you create psychological safety in your environments? And when I do that with my teams, I try and understand the individuals within the room and create new teams with those individuals. And it is a bit weird, you have to admit, and probably from the, let's say, the British UK side, we know that life is a bit odd and a bit crazy, and can't be taken too seriously. But I think you're going to collect a bunch of strangers, all with different walks of life, all with different experiences. And then you're going to put them in a room and say, hey, you guys should work really well together. We're just going to assume that you're all human beings, and we just kind of expect that to happen magically. And for me, what I try and do is I try and create a new common language with these people. I set up new principles and boundaries, new rules of engagement, new norms, new ways of working, but also a level of trust and understanding of something that we can all connect with and see people that we would know and appreciate, and that we have something to gain out of this collaboration and work with team. There's a bunch of different methods that I normally employ for these kind of things. It depends how random the team is, how deep I need to go with the team. But also one of those things that, kind of my therapist would always say, but also the Anita says in her workshop is, a little bit of don't open up things that you can't also shut down or complete or finish. So only go to the level which is needed. You don't need to marry all of your colleagues. You don't need to be in super deep relationships with them. You only need to go to the depth of which is reasonable. So in some ways you might, need to go further. Some others you might not. But having good psychological safety and investing to that will make all the other work much, much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I'm pondering and I'm reflective and I'm spinning wheels at the moment when I come up with my next question. But one of the things that really strikes me is not always everyone thinks like this when I'm looking at facilitating groups, and I love it. One of the bits that I have noticed that, and people look at me and they kind of go, I'm extroverted, but I am actually not. I'm actually quite an introvert on my own. And when I go away working with one of my colleagues, they're always remarkably shocked at how I want to retreat to my room and just kind of get under the covers for an hour or two after doing workshops. It takes a lot of energy out of me, and I have to switch that on. Okay, so when I facilitate, I put a mask on a lot of the times. How do we make sure that we're not opening up the channels for the loudest people in the room and the extroverts only to step up? Because it is daunting for some people to step up and be at the center of a room of maybe 50 people and pulling them together, and it takes a little bit of a leap in some ways to get to that point. Is it fair to say that I'd love to consider encouraging introverted people to become facilitators? Or is it a case that introverted people just, and this is such a broad question, please, Gerry, but like what I don't want to do is like pontificate about facilitation and extroverted people just kind of gravitate towards it, and introverted people, that gap gets bigger. How can we make sure that doesn't happen? And I don't know if you can reflect on your own experiences and how you probably see yourself, but what does it look like for you when you're taking that step up to facilitate large groups? And how can we make sure that there's loads of layers to this question? How do you make sure that introverted people feel supported enough to do it as well?
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny that you mentioned like the putting on the act or like a stepping into this role. And I
Yeah.
think like I'm also much the same actually. And it's really funny if people have met me at the service design jams or moderating the conferences or anything like this, they think, wow, this person is a born extrovert. Like,
Yeah.
and I would say I default. I'm a little bit more on that, but it's a bell-shaped curve. Most of the people sit somewhere in the middle,
Mm.
not on either extremes, and so it is actually something that I put on and step into this role. And I get a lot out of it. And of course, I appreciate the feedback and I can rev up a crowd and I can
Yeah.
deal with multiple people, but there is still this complete, wow, I'm so glad that's done and bomb
Yeah.
out. And I don't want to see anyone. And I'm going to lock myself in the basement for a couple of days. Recovery session, depending on the workshop.
Exactly.
And I would say like I totally get that as well. And I don't know, I think for introverts they might just think like, wow, these extroverts not have any recovery time it seems so effortless for them. But I think for the most people it does take effort. And I haven't met anyone that can just without any preparation jump in, get lots of energy and keep going afterwards. It does take effort and energy and it is an investment. And I think like let's just be all on the same page. The facilitation role isn't always something that directly gives back, and sometimes people might just not be so appreciative that you're doing it.
Yeah.
But I think there is a benefit always for doing this. And this is saying this. I was a kid in high school, and I would get so anxious that I would close my eyes if someone was presenting at school because I was so nervous for them. So like
Wow.
it's a skill that you can
Impact.
develop, you can work on, you can get there. So I totally get what you're saying
Yeah.
with this as well. Actually, a few of my friends that I met at the jams, they later thought after I met with them, in a one-to-one basis, they thought, oh, this guy doesn't like me because he's not this same bubbly, jokey,
Ah,
highly
right.
animated person. They just thought I was really bored. I was like,
Yeah.
no, 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 like you see the both sides of my personality. And I think when I talk to introverts about facilitation, they just need to be more, let's say, focused and clear that they're going to step into this role and then they can step out of this role.
Yeah.
And that they need to prepare themselves for this different way of working and different, let's say, functioning to do this. And probably they would need more preparation, but that also makes them better facilitators. So quite often I will look for an introvert to co-facilitate with because I tend to wing it too much and they would tend to overthink it too much.
Yeah.
And so when I can see an introvert facilitator, they tend to be more detailed focused. They tend to plan out a lot better.
Yeah.
And this makes them just generally better facilitators as well. So
Yeah.
pros and cons, I would say.
I mean, this whole phrase, the rock star facilitator, um, when I see it, I'm just like, well, I don't know anyone who's a rock star facilitator. Everyone I know,
Gerry, come on.
no, I'm not. I'm definitely not. I've seen some people who I just kind of go, wow, you're really like at a different level. Like, they can make these things happen. And I think it's really important that we just don't talk to the extroverts who may naturally gravitate towards that, because an extrovert can still be like anyone else and do a really bad job. To me, like the introverted perspective, and I'm glad you said that, like, they bring different perspectives to that facilitation role. And it's really, really important we kind of balance that a little bit. What's the challenges that you face now at the moment? Because you're relatively new into Staffbase, the last couple of months. As people are getting to know you and you're kind of working out, new styles of work and so forth. What's the prep work like going towards setting that up? When you're looking at the team, and you might say, some people are naturally probably going to be great at this, and some people may not have been given that opportunity. How do you balance giving people who are really good at it more time than they probably should, and balancing it with people who haven't tried it yet? How do you balance that with your team structures? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, how do you kind of like people that would gravitate to certain roles? How do you give them like in terms of
Yeah.
facilitation or?
Do you give like the people who are natural facilitators? the platform? And then do you say to people who are actually just not really that interested in it, okay, well, you don't have to do it? Is it something that you see like the role as a manager to encourage people who may not be natural facilitators to still do it? Because you know, and I know, if they were to leave, it's a really nice thing to have on your resume to be able to facilitate. It's still, from my perspective, one of the core skills of the great designers.
Everyone, I think, can facilitate. I definitely believe that. So everyone should be able to facilitate. I think people will definitely gravitate towards it more and use it more than others, use it more to their advantage than other people will.
Sure.
But as a manager, I am trying to highlight these people that have an interest and see the value.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to teach people that are motivated and willing to learn than it is to push people that are, I don't see this as valuable to my design career and I don't want to invest into it, to try and convince them that, hey, this is really important. But so normally I would go after these people that are a bit more motivated and interested and really boost them. And generally those ones make themselves pretty known. You facilitate something yourself. They say, wow, you're so great at this. How did you get that? And then you say, okay, well, what makes me great at it? You can also do this. And so they made themselves pretty known, I would say, in terms of this, and they will seek mentorship. So these ones I, by default, go after. But then there are a few candidates where I think, okay, I don't know if this person sees it as their responsibility to facilitate and to be able to bring people together to make themselves great designers. And those ones I also try and identify and go after in terms of helping them see the value of what they're trying to do, get their designs through, get feedback, get buy-in, and making facilitation that tool that can help them do that.
Okay.
So it might not be so obvious for them sometimes that, oh, facilitation is the thing that I need to learn.
Yeah.
But when you connect it to what they're trying to achieve as a designer, then that's generally where they start to pick up the motivation, pick up the importance of it as well. So there's maybe those two groups of people that I would say I generally go after.
What kind of training have you done? I know the answer to one or two of these already, but I'd love to know. Improv you mentioned there, but what other trainings have you done? Have you ever done Toastmasters, for instance?
Oh, I'd love to do Toastmasters. I haven't, no. Bit of improv. My biggest training, I would say, was working for a couple of years in summer camps in Germany and working with about 200 teenagers.
Oh, wow.
And kids for a couple of months through summer. If you can wrangle and get their attention and lose yourself amongst teenagers and get them to, listen, you can do that with any size group of adults. I mean, they're not so different, actually, surprisingly, or not surprisingly. But yeah, that's definitely where I learned a lot of it. I would say, like, I grew up a little bit religious and also did a lot of youth work when I was younger as well. So it's always been a part of myself. But in the professional context, I would say a lot of trial and error and a lot of mentorship. So I always sought out and looked at the ways in which other people did facilitation and workshops. So, I followed Adam St. John Lawrence around, and I followed, Dee Scarano, who's another great facilitator. And I kind of watched how they do it. What did they do well? How do they structure their wording? What activities did they do? How that works for them, and kind of, I don't know, still like an artist is always what we say. So kind of do this as well, facilitation.
It was remarkable, the shift to online during the COVID, during the COVID, as I've started to refer to as. But the time where I don't remember, but moving it back into online or into the face-to-face was kind of like, wow, this is like, just a different world. And it was someone I still prefer face-to-face. How does it shift for you? Like, is your new role, are they primarily online, like people working from home? So is the facilitation opportunities tend to be within the browser? And if so, how does it shift? How does the kind of style shift in terms of the mechanics behind the facilitation if you're doing it online?
Yeah, we're a distributed team, so we have global offices as well. So a lot of the communication work is done online.
What are
I
we
mean, you
losing by
lose,
that, Adam? Like,
oh,
just
you lose so much,
what do you lose? Because
but
I
you
wonder
also
if there's
gain
that
a lot.
quantified.
It's this, there's pros and cons. And I would say I would prefer an in-person workshop. But what you lose with an in-person workshop is the digital documentation. I mean,
Yeah.
documentation on digital platforms, communications, this kind of level is just so much better than the documentation you have to do in processing. I mean, before COVID, it was a lot of taking photos, writing stuff down, capturing stuff to the board, all this kind of stuff. But documentation for online stuff is just really, it's there. A lot of it is done, and you can use, great AI tools, and you can use synthesis tools and stuff like this. So a lot of
Yeah.
it's there. And also with online tools, you have like the hand up icon, and you can call people out, and you can kind of go through this. And there's so many tools now that you can use for online workshops, but still reading body language is so much more harder, and it's better in person. Shifting people physically around a space. I mean, people are spatial thinkers.
Yeah.
We have a 3D model in our brain where things are, and we kind of also think in this way as well. We look at this wall as opposed to this wall, and we kind of move around a three-dimensional space. And in the 2D digital world, you kind of lose a lot of that as well. And then attention in a physical space is captured just so much better than if you're on a digital space. I mean, looking at different tabs, notifications, icons, all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I was doing a workshop this morning actually for a client, and I've got a little screen over here with my camera behind it, and my main screen is over here. And so I was throwing my eye back and forth to see who was speaking half the time. And I was looking at one person, and they were like this. And I'm like, that's not matching with the voice that I'm hearing. I was like completely disconnected. I was like, I had to lean in, and I was like, oh, that person's on a phone call. They're doing an entirely different session. And I'm like, oh, who am I speaking to? Because I couldn't see it. It was on a different platform to usually what I'm used to. And I couldn't believe it. And that's the thing about the distractions. I find like online, the camera going off thing, and I'm like, are you there? Like I find it just really, sometimes it can be really sort of disconcerting that maybe people aren't actually kind of with me on this. Whereas I feel when they're in the room, the proximity, they can feel the energy, and it's closer. And the conclusion that I've come to on that, and I'd love to know your thought on it, if you're relatively new into an organization and trust is still being built, it's still better to do this stuff face to face until you build that trust and that reliability that they can actually trust you and they know what you're talking about. And you're not some waffler, which is a very Irish phrase, a waffler. Are you a waffler? Talking crap sort of thing. Where does trust come into this for you, like within the facilitation role? Like, how do we design trust as part of our facilitation design, if you want, with both clients and employees?
I think trust is a huge thing. And I think people need to know that you actually care about who they are and what they're doing before they will participate.
Yeah.
And care about their point of view. And I think trust is a huge thing in terms of, as a design manager, you need trust from your stakeholders, for your peers, and people that are overseeing your work, but also for the people that look up to you.
Sure.
A lot of my work has been building commitments and understandings that build trust. So going through our design process, going through principles, going through experiences, fun things, social things, understanding what is going on in their personal lives to a degree, also really helps build those layers of trust. I'm not of the opinion you have to be friends with all your colleagues, and but it does help to like the people that you work with, I would say. So I think that level of trust is really, really good. I mean, facilitation and being able to facilitate these exercises really, really helps as a skill for that. But if you want to have the good facilitation, it's great that if you have a layer of trust to work on already. If you want to get anywhere as a designer, even if you're an IC and all you do is pixel pushing and all you do is this, and that's all you really want to concentrate, you're still going to need stakeholders and people to help make you successful. You don't get to live in a vacuum. And so that's, I think also as a facilitator, you come with that realization, but you can't just jump into a room and facilitate and leave again. You need to build relationships. Yeah,
absolutely. Now we're coming towards the end of the podcast. Okay. And I like leaving people with one juicy bit of information. Now, if you are listening to this podcast and you want to know what the first step should be in taking that first step into facilitating, maybe putting your hand up in the next meeting saying, I'd like to facilitate a session. What advice would you give to those people, Adam? And is there any one resource that you keep going back to that you might be able to recommend to people to taking that first step to facilitating?
I think for me, like the best place to get started, I mean, a couple of things. For me, the best place, workshopper.com, they have a lot of great resources, buying This is Service Design Doing and having a read through that, or reading any of the facilitation books. Watching a lot of YouTube videos is also a great way just to understand how people break down workshops, the different stages that you might have, the difference between a diverging method and a converging method, whatever. But I think mentorship and talking with people face to face, go to a meetup, have a chat about how they facilitate things in your local area. Go to ADP List, which is a mentoring platform where you can find free mentors, look up facilitation or workshops and speak to some of those people. But I think connecting with people that have done this and seeing their experiences is a really great way to build confidence and familiarity. And then, put your hand up, volunteer yourself, do something brave. I remember when I started my second design job, the person who ran the all hands meetings had just resigned and there was no one. And the discussion I sat in my very first meeting was the entire company, 100 people, who wants to run this event for us? Bringing everyone together, making sure. I said, I'll do it. Like, sure. I don't know what it is about. I don't know how it's going to go. But then I was like, I'll do it. And put yourself out there, I think is the way to do it.
Adam, I'll put a link to your LinkedIn if that's okay into the show notes. Is there another website or anything else that you want to promote or anything else you want to drop into the show notes to tell people about?
Nothing too much. You can find me on ADP List if you want to book a session. You can see when the available slots are there. It's free. You don't have to pay me anything. I'm committed. Come with questions. Besides that, that's all.
Absolutely brilliant. Listen, thanks so much for your time today. Give me your energy and your vulnerability, allowing me to go all over the shop with my questions, but I really appreciate you coming on today and giving us an absolutely cracking episode. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Gerry. It's always a pleasure.